surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Gung. It's October 17, 2024, just a few weeks away from the election. All right, like most of you, I'm very upset about what's going on, anxious. And I want to start out by saying, this election is not about immigration, inflation, or the war in the Middle East. Those are merely problems we have to deal with. This election is about a crisis. A crisis is about saving our democracy, which derives from our Constitution. It's about Americans taking down a tyrant. Remember, back in 1776, we declared our independence, our freedom against a tyrant, King George III. We fought the Revolutionary War. I'm going to use my glasses on occasion now. This election is about saving our democracy that comes from our Constitution. Americans have always been a great people. America is great. We're not perfect. We've always been great. I don't get it when Donald Trump says, "Make America great again." We are great. We are great Americans. Again, I'm getting a little anxious, but we're in a crisis situation. We have to stop a tyrant that admires dictators, particularly Putin. Putin is the worst person on earth, and Trump admires him, looks up to him. Putin is nothing more than a big mob boss. And Trump is looking up to Putin, and he deems himself to be a mob boss. He wants to run America like it's his mob. We have to stop him. Stop him by putting him down at the election. That's the only way we have right now. I want you out there to take me deadly serious. It's even difficult to get this together. There's so much. I'm not a baby boomer. I was born during the Second World War. My dad was in the Army. He's home on leave here. He was in the 9th Armored Division during the Second World War. My mom was back in Brooklyn working for the federal government. My father moved us out of Canarsie, Brooklyn, which was a dead-end town out to Nassau County, basically to get me and my sister a better way of life, a good chance at a good education, which I got. So I was raised in Nassau County. I want you to know these things about me. And of course, I'm a Marine. I was raised in Nassau County. I graduated from Massapequa High School. I graduated from Hofstra University, and I enlisted in the Marine Corps. I am a Mustang. I went from a private at Parris Island to a captain in the United States Marine Corps. I volunteered to serve in Vietnam as a Marine infantry combat officer. I served with the 1st Battalion, 3rd Marines, also known as the Home of the Brave. 99.9% of the time, we were fighting the North Vietnamese Army regulars. I survived. I'm what Trump deems a loser because I fought in Vietnam. And all the friends that I lost there in their prime, young Marines, enlisted and officers, are suckers, according to them, Trump. Suckers. I got out of the Marine Corps. I love the Marine Corps. I love the Marines. I found out the hard way, the lie we were not fighting for, freedom and democracy. We were not fighting against communism. We were involved in a civil war. We should have never been there. We only made things worse. I learned the hard way. After 4 years, I was out. I would not go back to Vietnam. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went to law school on the GI Bill. It was a disgrace. But I did it. I had to work full-time and go to law school full-time. I did it. I wanted to do something meaningful with my life. Right from law school, right out of law school, I got a job with the Legal Aid Society, the criminal division. I started out in the criminal courts. I did nothing but criminal defense my whole career. I went into private practice, and I took on heavy cases. Yes, I took on mob cases because I had family in the mob. I did. FBI came after me. They wanted to recruit me. I got letters from it, J. Gover turning me down because I have members of my family in the mob, in the Lucchese crime family, the Gambino crime family. They turned me down because of that. That's okay. I became a criminal defense attorney, big time. A lot of mob cases, a lot of murder cases, a lot of big drug cartel cases. Here, this is a newspaper article about one of my cases. How's that? Daily News, not guilty in cop slate. That's how serious I am, or was. A trial lawyer. I defended a black person who was framed for murdering a New York City police officer. And I won the trial. It was a lie. They framed him. That's how serious I am. I was admitted to the New York State Bar in 1974, to the federal bars in 1975. Very active. I know things personally because of what I did. A lot of federal cases, a lot of state cases. This gets complicated, but I have to go there. Everything I say to you, I can prove. I can prove it. I have the documents. I have the files. I have the testimony. What I say to you is the truth. What I've been saying for years is not getting out there. The mainstream media is afraid to tell you the truth. I have it. And I've been on them. And I'm going to tell you some things now that are absolutely provable. I could prove them with some of my friends. In 2018, I was watching one of my favorite shows, Ari Melber, The Beat. And on the show, he was talking about an informer by the name of Felix Sater, and Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, had attempted to make a business deal to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. When I heard that name, Felix Sater, it rang a bell. I said to my wife, I know that name. He was an informer on a big mob case. And he was. I went downstairs, pulled out the file. Here it is. This is the file. It's USA against Frank Copa. 19 guys were arrested. The FBI and the Department of Justice had an informer by the name of Felix Sater. He was Russian-born, FBI informer. I have it all here. They They grabbed him, you might say. They made him come back from Russia. He took a plea, and he cooperated with the FBI and the Department of Justice and made a really big case against the Italian mafia and the Russian mafia. I represented the Danny Persico Jr., the third defendant in the case. Felix Sater, who was a felon at the time. Let's back up. Felix Sater was the main witness for the FBI and the Department of Justice on this big mob case. Very big case, a lot of publicity. The FBI contacted me. They told me my client was indicted. They knew me before that. They knew I'd been representing Danny on something else that came to nothing. They knew me. Would I surrender Danny Persico Jr.? Sure. I brought him in. We met the FBI outside the courtroom at the Eastern District, New York. We walked in. They gave us an indictment about maybe an inch thick. A lot of people there. 19 people were arrested. I made a bailout. And believe it or not, I got him out. He didn't go in. We posted $1 million bond to secure his appearance. Didn't go in at that time. We looked at the indictment, and the first thing we realized, me and Danny, that one of the main informers was Felix Sater. And Danny knew Felix Sater because he was running this phony brokerage. And Danny was involved a little bit, not much at all. But the main witness was Felix Sater. I got to know about Felix Sater. He took a plea to racketeering conspiracy in 1998. He was flipped by Andrew Weissman, who was a talking head on MSNBC on a regular basis. He was flipped in 1998. Right now, he's still working for the FBI. And while he was working, after he flipped, and while the case was pending, and before he took a plea, he went over to Trump Tower and took over a business called Bayrock. Remember now, this guy is a felon, actually 2 times over. Government agreed to keep his felony secret. He went over to Trump Tower and he did business, leading Bayrock. He partnered up with the Trump organization. They laundered close to $1 billion of Russian money. This is what people don't know, or some people know and they don't want to talk about it. I'm putting it together. I'm at ground zero. All right. Turns out that this FBI informer, Felix Sater, here he is on the cover of Newsweek in 2018. Big time. So big, he came out and he's bragging about being an FBI informer. And they used him again in 2018 against Michael Cohen. I have the proof. They went after Michael Cohen. They used Felix Sater. This guy is the biggest fraudster, crookster ever when it comes to money and financial stealing, money laundering. All right, so I've been doing my due diligence. And what do I find out? Now, this is after I came forward in 2018 and got involved with lawyers that were trying to bring out the truth about Felix Sater, about the FBI, about Trump. They were trying to disclose what was going on, that Trump had taken all this money from Russian oligarchs. The government went after them. I tried to help them. I went to court. I filed an affidavit. I went to testify. The government and the courts wouldn't let me defend them. Take the stand. The government was accusing these 2 lawyers, Fred Oberlander and Richard Lerner, of conspiring to kill Felix Sater, their informer, using my client, Danny Persico Jr. I have it in black and white. I have it here. I tried to help them. I couldn't help them. They were able to fend off the FBI, Department of Justice, and crooked judges, in the federal judges, but they're still being persecuted right now. All right, so I do my due diligence. Who is, again, Felix Sater? And I find out that when Felix Sater Felix Sater basically worked for Robert Mueller. Robert Mueller headed our FBI from 2001. He was appointed by Bush 43 until maybe 2012 or 13. He was reappointed by Obama. Robert Mueller, who was made the special counsel to go after Trump, he had a conflict. He had an FBI informer in Trump Tower for maybe a dozen years, doing financial crimes that all illegal. His man, Felix Sater. Felix Sater was working for Robert Mueller and Andrew Weissman. Weissman was working with Mueller at the FBI. When Mueller was appointed to go after Trump, that was a farce. He was not appointed special counsel to get Donald Trump. He was appointed to keep secret what the FBI and the Department of Justice and federal judges have been conspiring to cover up what really happened between their FBI informer, a Russian-born informer, and the Trump Organization. $1 billion came out of Russia to Russian oligarchs. Now tell me, you think $1 billion could move out of Russia without Putin's approval? That's the connection. That's what makes Trump a Russian candidate. That's what makes him a disgrace. He's the most dangerous person to our democracy ever. Security risk. It couldn't be worse. He admires Putin. Putin is a dictator. He's able to start and persecute a war that has killed hundreds of thousands of his own men and women. And the same thing with Ukrainians. He's able to do this. He's a dictator. And this is what Trump admires. So what does Mueller do? He investigates Trump for 2 years plus, I think. Trump's connections to the Russians, their influence in our elections. What does he avoid? What does he avoid? He doesn't investigate Trump's financials. Why? He doesn't investigate Trump's financials because for over a dozen years or more, Trump is heavily involved with Russian oligarchs. And they're looting the Russian government, their resources, with Putin's approval. So Mueller leaves that alone. He actually says he didn't investigate Trump's financials. How could you not? How could you not do that? Nobody has investigated them. But I know the two lawyers, Fred Oberlander and Richard Lerner I have joined them. And the question is, why didn't they investigate? Yeah, just recently, in the Washington Spectator, it's a very well-known paper that actually tries to tell the truth. They just ran an article, October 3rd. And the question is, well, the article's name basically, what did Mueller miss? And they end the article by saying, what happened? Someone has to come forward before this election and tell us why Mueller missed all these things. The main thing, Trump's financials. How could he not investigate that? How could Andrew Weissman, be on the team with Mueller and avoid investigating Trump's financials that are so linked into Russian financial illegal money laundering, financial crimes? It's all there. It doesn't come out because our government is involved. And when I talk about our government, I mean the FBI, Department of Justice, and federal judges. I know this. I've been up against them since 2018. I've been calling them out. I've been sending this information out to the media. They will not go at it. Trump is completely compromised by the Russians, by the Russian intelligence.
It's about money that he took from them while he was doing it with an FBI informant that was being protected by the FBI, Department of Justice, and federal judges. Mueller had an FBI agent, an asset in Trump Tower for maybe 12 years. How bad can it be? And everything I say to you is provable in black and white. I'm part of it. I'm part of the litigation. I've been going after them. Harry Melba, you know something? You suck. Everything I've done, I've sent to you, and you have ignored me. You talked about Felix Sater. One of the reporters that have gone after Sater is Jim Henry, investigative and journalist. He was on the Chris Hayes shows with Felix Sater in 2018. First, Chris interviewed Felix Sater, and then he interviewed my friend, Jim Henry. And Jim Henry told Chris Hayes the truth. Felix Sater is a rat. He's a Russian agent. He's no good. And Trump is aligned with him. And guess what? They ignored Jim Henry. They ignored him. He was on to Felix Sater and the way he was tied up with Trump and Mueller. And they ignored him, practically banished him. That was his punishment. Me, they can't say anything bad about Joseph Giannini. I've been around. I've been in the system. I've been fighting the system. They can't say Giannini is a liar. Giannini is libeling us. Giannini has it wrong. No, they can't do that with me. I've got it right. I'm a Marine. I never give up. I'm still fighting against them. Another thing about me. All these things I'm telling you about Felix Sater. Through my whole career, I never represented an informer, a rat, an FBI informer like Felix Sater. I learned by getting involved, by helping to defend or helping these lawyers that were trying to bring out the truth about Felix Sater and Trump and the FBI. I learned about Felix Sater. Big-time FBI informer for over 2 decades. He's being paid by our government. Nobody knows how much. He admitted to stealing $44 million. I have it here. He got away with it. They let him keep it. I have the minutes. They let him keep it. They sentenced him illegally. A good judge that I admired up until then. I never knew that the FBI was making deals with informers. They flipped them. They've already been convicted of a major crime. They send them out, and they continue to do the crimes that they got busted for, like Felix Sater, like Whitey Bulger, like Greg Scarpa. Greg Scarpa was in the he was in the Persico family. He was an FBI informer for 30 effing years. He was out there murdering people, extorting people. He was an FBI informer. And then he flipped altogether and went against his own family. He died a long time ago. The FBI has a term for people they flip. These are bad, bad people, like Felix Sater. He's a crookster. He's a mobster. He's a gangster. His father was in the Russian mob. His name is Mogilevich. He worked for Mogilevich, one of the bosses in the Russian mob. The Russian mob is headed by Putin. Felix Sater's father was in the Russian mob. His name is Mogilevich. He was busted twice by the FBI. He walked away from it because he was a rat. All right. The FBI has a term for when they flip somebody. Quote, and that person does crimes. It's called, quote, otherwise illegal activity. Murders, extortion, drug dealing, money laundering. They let them go. They give them a pass because they're working for the FBI. Think of another one that I actually went up against, another rat. His name was Pete Savino. I think he was a member of the Bonanno crime family, or Genovese. I went up against him. I was helping guys. I was helping people in the mafia that he ratted on. Pete Savino, big name, big time, big case, Windows case, in the Eastern District, New York. They thought it would be the biggest mob case ever. I was on the field. I was on Pete Savino. I was hired to get the dirt on him, and I did it. And the feds lost almost everything. The case was a disaster for the feds. So I'm telling you, I've learned this the hard way. Like my dad said about me, you always learn things the hard way. You learn hard things the hard way by doing it. I went to Vietnam. I was in combat. I went into the practice of law, did nothing but criminal defense. My father got me my first murder case. He called me up, said, I have a murder case for you. It was a high-profile case. I had just gone into private practice. I said, Dad, I'm not ready for a murder case. He said to me, you're ready. I won the case. I won the case. A young Hispanic boy was framed for killing a young girl, 12 years old. He was framed. I won the case. I've got the scars. And I hope you believe me. I'm not putting you on, and nobody's going to say differently to you about me and about what I'm telling you. And there's a lot more. And I'm just heavily involved. What do you think?
I saw a familiar face walking on the avenue, both surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too. We smiled